Okay, welcome everyone. I'm sure we'll have people joining us, but we'll maybe just go ahead and get started now and do some introductions while we're waiting for everyone to join. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Alin. I'm the administrator of the Digital Help Desk, and I'm also a small business owner myself on Manitoulin Island. So if you're not familiar with it yet, the Digital Help Desk, it's an initiative of the Northern Ontario Women Program, which is run by Lambac here on the island. It's accessible to all of Northern Ontario. So the Help Desk provides resources and support for women-owned and women-led businesses in Northern Ontario, specifically in the areas of digital marketing, e-commerce, website management, and SEO. So I just wanted to start off today by doing a quick demo of the Help Desk and showing you how it works, just in case you aren't familiar with it yet. So I have my screen shared here. This is what the homepage looks like when you get to it. The link to get to the help desk, as you can see up at the top here, is nowdigital.lambac.org. There is also a link through the Lambac site, the Now page, if you're familiar with that, but this is the direct link to get to it. And then once you get there, there's a few different ways that you can kind of interact with the help desk. So there's a resource library if you want to just kind of browse the articles and see what content has been developed by the different experts that are working on the help desk. So if you scroll down, there's the button here, or you can kind of look at the different categories. So we have digital marketing, e-commerce, website management, and then search engine optimization. We also have recorded webinars that we've done in the past, and this one will be accessible as well afterwards. But so you can kind of click into each of these categories. I'll just show you what digital marketing looks like here. And then you'll see some subcategories and just different articles that may help you with different topics for your business. So if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, but you just want some general help in the area, that's a good way to get started. But if you do have something specific that you're looking for, you can either put your search term in here. So if there's a topic that you want more information on, you can search and it'll pull up articles for you. Or if you have a specific question that kind of relates to your business, or you're trying to troubleshoot an issue that you've been having, you can actually connect with one of our experts in the different areas that I just mentioned. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page where you submit a ticket. And what this does is basically it'll notify all of our experts that you have a question, and it'll just ask you for some basic information here. So anything with a star is required. And then you would type in the description. So your question or the issue you're having here, whatever you're looking for help with. There are some additional questions below, but these are not mandatory. So if you would like to fill those out, that would be helpful, but you can skip over those if you'd like, and then just click submit. And then once you've submitted that, you'll hear back within 3 business days from one of our experts. And they'll reach out to you by email and kind of help you with your question. If it's something that's a little more complicated, they may want to book a phone call with you or a Zoom meeting or anything like that to kind of go through more details, but they'll reach out to you by email initially to kind of set that up if it's required. And you don't have to create an account to use the help desk. You can just go to the website, submit a ticket. If you do want to create an account, you can do that and then log in to see your ticket history or check in on the status of them, but you don't have to do that. So you can just kind of go there and submit a ticket right away. If you're having trouble at all using the help desk, there is an article right here on the homepage, how to use the help desk. So it kind of walks you through step by step of the different options that you have that I just kind of went through. So if you wanted to do that, there are kind of screenshots and it'll explain everything there. Or if you have any questions just in general, you can also just click connect with an expert, and then there's a kind of a generic option where you'd reach me as the admin, and I can help you out just with any general questions you have on it. And then there is also a French option if anyone is looking for that. So we have everything translated into French here. So all the articles are available in both languages. So that's just kind of the toggle at the top here. You can switch languages. So yeah, well, we hope that you'll find it useful. If you have any questions or feedback, we welcome those at any time. And you can send that through the help desk by connecting with an expert here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So we're going to move into the workshop today on Google Ads. Following the presentation, there will be a Q&A session. So if you do have questions, that's why we wanted to set it up kind of more as a meeting today than a webinar, so that people can kind of ask any questions that they have on the topic and kind of engage with our hosts today. So throughout the presentation, if everyone can keep themselves muted just so that it doesn't get chaotic, and then it's up to you. If you want to keep your camera on, you're welcome to. You can turn it off as well. It's up to you. And then if you have questions that come up kind of throughout the presentation, you can also submit them through the chat. So down at the bottom of the page, there's the chat button. So you can just type questions as they come up, just so you don't have to remember them all for the end. And just to let everyone know, we are recording this session today. We will be posting it on the Helpdesk site afterwards, so that people can kind of revisit it, and if they want to come back and see the information again. So just so everyone knows that. And if you have any questions that are kind of specific to your business that you don't want to share and have it be recorded, then you can either type it in a message to me or in the chat, and I can just ask it anonymously, or you can connect with an expert afterwards and ask the question. So that's kind of how things will work today. And yeah, so I will pass it over. Oh, actually, before that, I just want to just make a note too, that we will be sending an email out tomorrow with a follow-up. So it'll have a summary of everything that we talked about. We will do an article and the recorded version of the workshop. So we'll send that all out to you so you have it, as well as a link just to that article that kind of walks you through how to use the help desk. So you should get that afterwards. But yeah, for now, I'll pass it over to Amy from Search and Gather. Their team provides support with any of your digital marketing questions and troubleshooting through the help desk. All right.
Great. Thanks so much. I will start by sharing my screen. And here we go. So yeah, this is just kind of a webinar workshop doing a bit of an introduction into Google Ads. This is in no way all encompassing of everything about Google Ads. It's a massive platform. There's a lot you can do, but just wanted to kind of cover those basics, things that you may want to know to kind of get going, some best practices that we like to use. But it's really accessible for everyone at this point. Like, Google Ads makes it really easy to get going. So yeah, just a little bit about Search and Gather. My name is Amy Deschamps. I work as a digital strategist at the Search and Gather team. We're based out of Toronto, digital marketing agency. We cover all different types of paid acquisition channels, whether that's Google Ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, anything paid related. We kind of handle that side. Us as an agency, we really care about data tracking, making sure that we're making informed decisions on any kind of strategy that we're employing, and just kind of doing whatever we can to get the best results for clients in that digital market space. So a little bit about what we're going to be covering today is we're going to high level, what is Google Ads? I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown between kind of these two different branches, the search side versus the display side. But most of what I'll be going through today will be on that search side of Google Ads. And then from there, kind of the different elements of a Google ad, what you need to include, copy, that kind of thing. Then a bit more about the structure, setup, keyword research, tracking, and budgeting, just kind of going with those campaigns. And then I'll get a little bit more detailed in terms of different bidding strategies you can use, and then just kind of key optimizations and points for how you can improve. But yeah, as mentioned, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get through it all. All right, so a bit of a high level kind of what is Google Ads? It's the Google's advertising system in which advertisers can bid on certain keywords in order for their clickable ads to appear in Google search results. So kind of an example on the right-hand side, you've got this big red box versus the green one. The red one, you can see we have a little like ad icon next to them. So this is kind of the distinction between an SEM ad versus SEO being the organic listings at the bottom. So SEO, especially for like small businesses, it can take a lot of time in order to actually rank on Google and make your content visible. So a great way that people can kind of circumvent that is using SEM ads. So using the kind of paid platform and making them appear on first page of Google so that you can really be visible if your SEO isn't strong enough yet. And it can be accessible as well from a paid perspective. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money. I mean, it will depend on your industry, but there are opportunities here in order to really maximize your visibility on that search engine results page. And the really great part about Google search campaigns is that you're reaching people exactly when they're interested in the product and services that you're offering. So people are actively searching for whatever it is that you're providing, and then you can be right in front of them when they're looking to make that kind of buying decision. So it's a really great bottom of the funnel tactic to use. So from there, I wanted to kind of come into a little bit of that difference between search versus display. On the search side, so this is considered more of a pull campaign. And that just means that customers are actively searching for your product or service. On the other side of things is the display side, which is considered more of a push campaign. And that means that you're really pushing your product at a customer that may or may not know what your product or service is. So they're not really actively looking for it. The search ones, kind of looking at this picture here, is they're going to show up above the organic listings on the Google when you go type in that search bar. The difference with the display ads is that's kind of what follows you around that you can think of when you're going on different websites. They're kind of those banner images all dispersed throughout kind of whatever content you're looking at. But that's really more of that display side. And so, yeah, the big difference between search and display, you have a high intent to buy on that search side because they're actively looking for it, versus display, it's generally more of a lower intent to buy. It could just be something like they see your ad and that triggers them to maybe then they want to go purchase, but they weren't thinking about it in the first place. And then moving on from there, the search side is generally speaking more of a text-based platform. Super high level, Google just recently is starting some kind of more image-based things on the search side. I'm not going to talk about that now, but search is basically text and display is predominantly image-based. So having kind of that banner image, you'll have to include different things like 2 different image sizes, some headlines and descriptions on display, but mostly images is what you'll see there. And then one of the other great things about search is you're actually ranked kind of within your competition. So if people are looking for some kind of like nail salon in Toronto and you're bidding on those keywords, you can show up against all the other types of businesses that are looking for or that are providing that same service. So it can really make you, if they kind of know that name, they can put you in there with it. And so then people kind of have a better indication of what you're doing. And then, as I kind of mentioned previously, search is a really good bottom of the funnel sales tactic. They're looking for what you're providing and you're putting it in front of them at that time. Display is a really good brand awareness type of play if you're kind of, because it's more of that push style, they're not necessarily ready to make that decision yet, but it could be by repeatedly seeing your ads throughout their perusing of the internet, then they can have kind of your name more so in mind. And then, so the one other kind of distinction and why I'll focus more on the search versus display is that if you have a slower ad budget in the first place, I would recommend starting out on that search side, just because that will go it's farther down the funnel for people making their decisions. You're more likely to get a higher conversion rate, return on ad spend, because people are more likely to buy when they're using that search function versus on that display side, using more of an awareness play. I think it's a better use of funds if you kind of have more to play with, is more kind of that awareness side of things, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that we know kind of the difference between those 2 different things, I'm going to jump more so now towards the search side exclusively, and just kind of break down how Google Ads actually works as this platform, just at a high level. It's basically an auction system, and there's kind of 4 main steps that will occur when these Google Ads are being shown to people. And it always starts with a search query. So people are on Google, they search something in with some keywords, and then from there, Google needs to decide which ad is actually going to be displayed at the top. And so from there could be 4 different advertisers that each have an ad, and the ads kind of, the keywords that they're targeting match the search query that was put in. From there, Google then has to decide which one of the 4, or in this case, they're going to show. And so they have a whole bunch of different factors that they're going to include, some being quality score, the ad extensions you're using, the format, your bids, all of that kind of thing, which I'll get into a little bit more. And then Google will decide based on these criteria, which ones it actually wants to show for the keyword that was put in. All right. So we know how Google Ads kind of works now, but there's a whole bunch of different things that are going to go into how you actually create this ad. So I wanted to break down kind of the different elements of your Google search ads and what's the key important things to get included in here. The first one is actually the URL, and I want to highlight the fact that the landing page is also a really important part of your Google ad. It's not just so much of having your ad shown and then clicking on their ad, but they actually need to be gaining value as the user on your landing page that they're on. So you want to have that landing page be as relevant to the keywords and the ads that you're creating as well. And that goes into your quality score with Google, because the more likely that the people are going to kind of find and convert on your landing page, they're more likely to show that ad from there. And so there's actually a function in Google Ads where you can edit kind of your display URL as well. So you can see here, there's this URL. You can actually have a slash and add in this path afterwards. So if you're having different offerings as like a nail salon, maybe you have manicures, pedicures, waxing, some of these different things. If you're bidding specifically on waxing keywords, you may want to have like slash waxing next to your display. That may not necessarily change the actual landing page they're on, but it seems more relevant to the user when they're looking at it because that keyword matches what they searched. From there, your headlines are the next thing that you're going to be including in your ad. You need to have at least 2 when you're creating them. You can do 3. It doesn't usually like always show all 3 of them, usually the first 2, but that's kind of what you're seeing here. You've got this first example, there's a bar there and then another one. It's going to be, those are your 2 different headlines. There's also a third one that can be shown. Typically kind of as a good structure, your headline 1, you'll want to include that main keyword that you're focusing on in there. Headline 2, you can be a bit more descriptive. 3, I like to use a call to action in there, like book now, book a demo, something like that. And yeah, those are the headlines. For descriptions, starting with 1 is also just fine. You don't necessarily need to have 2. If you're just getting started, 2 headlines, 1 description is a good place to start. Descriptions, you want to include as many keywords as possible as well that are relevant. Again, you just kind of want to keep as many keywords and as relevant to what people are searching as possible. And then from there, you can actually add a whole bunch of different extensions to your ads. One of them being the call it extension here. You can see there's kind of like these words and then a dot and then some more words. So these are kind of different ways to just expand and give people more information in terms of what you're offering. Things like open 24/7, I don't know, different things like that, just providing more information. The more kind of extensions you provide, it gives Google more room to work with, makes you seem like you have more information. People are more likely to kind of find what they're looking for from your ad. And you can actually take up more space on the search engine results page if you have more stuff in there. Again, it's not necessarily always going to be included, but Google has that option to do that as they want. So that's kind of the call extension. The next one, you can do a call extension, which is that phone number here. Gives people the opportunity to just call you directly from your Google ad. If you ever do any kind of tracking purposes, you can like mask that number so you know that only people calling from there are coming from your Google ad. It can be really helpful. Other ones you can do are site link extensions, which are these kind of boxes here. These I like to point to different points of your website, whether that's services, about us, contact us, kind of different things. You have different, yeah, you can just include all the different information that people could find useful for your website. You can also include location extensions. That would be really helpful if you have different, or if you're a brick and mortar store and you really need to kind of make that known. It's a great tool to use. One thing to also highlight for all of these is that there are character count limits set for each of them. not necessarily your URL specifically, but your headlines have a max of 30 characters, descriptions have a max of 90, and then your call out and site link also have limits as well, just to consider. All right. So now that we kind of have a bit more information about that, I wanted to dive into what you actually need to get started for your search campaign. First step, pretty obvious, you need to have a Google Ads account. Google makes it really easy to set this up for you. You just need to go to Google or ads.google.com. There are a whole bunch of different steps. They'll walk you through it really easily, varying levels of difficulty if you just want to get going. There's a fast way to do it. There's also one that kind of walks you through it a little bit more in detail, but it's all there for you and they'll help you out. And then once you have it set up, you just need to add in your billing information and you're good to go. But once you have that account set up, there are kind of two key things that you'll want to consider when you're putting together your campaign. And that is you want a keyword strategy, and then you want to kind of have your ad copy, that text that you're going to put together that's really going to make yourself known for your users. So starting with the keyword strategy, this is kind of a really big and important basis for when you're starting your campaign. And something to consider is that there's different things called match types. And so these are really kind of the exact level of how you're going to be matching with people's search queries. So there's these exact, phrase, and broad. There was previously something called a broad match modifier, which is explained more so in this image. It's actually being phased out in July, so that's why I lump it together with phrase right now. But as you're starting out, I would highly recommend you just start with exact and phrase, especially if you're on a limited budget. Those are going to be the best ways that you can really get the most relevant keywords and the most relevant people to your site. So exact match sounds kind of exactly what it sounds like. You're going to be bidding on exactly what someone's searching. So in the example that's shown here, if someone searches formal shoes, exact match will only show up your ad for formal shoes. Phrase match, on the other hand, which is taking more of the broad match modifier workings now, is that it'll take kind of the words that you have in there and it can mix and match the order that they're being put in, but it's still going to be relevant and include all of those keywords that you have included. So if I was doing like nail salon, Toronto, it could also show up for Toronto nail salon. It'll like kind of mix and match, but still be highly relevant to what you're showing. Broad, on the other hand, is much broader. It's not nearly as precise. It can take a lot of your budget sometimes on not as relevant keywords. And so that's when, if you're searching here like formal shoes, broad match will show you formal footwear, evening footwear, which doesn't include any of your actual keywords that someone searched, but Google deems it relevant enough. So it can get out of hand sometimes. You're really going to want to monitor that one to make sure. But something else to really consider as well for keywords is that once you can actually see in Google Ads what people are searching and what you're showing up for. And that's a really good way to kind of monitor negative keywords, which is this great function in Google, in that if you see someone typed in and clicked on one of your ads and you look at the keywords and it's actually not relevant at all to what you're doing, or maybe they're searching for your login page and you don't want people clicking on an ad if they're just going to be logging into your system, you can actually negative that specific word so that your ad will never show up if someone searches login, for instance, if that makes sense. But yeah, key things for keyword strategy, exact and phrase are your best places to start there. And when you're actually putting together this strategy, there's some things you're going to want to consider in terms of the best words to really go after and build that strategy. Search volume being a big one to start out with. If people don't search for that keyword, your ad isn't going to show up because there's no reason for it to. There are a whole bunch of different tools out there, paid and non-paid, for figuring out kind of what that search volume looks like. Google Ads actually has one built in that's really helpful. If you're in your Google Ads platform, there's a little wrench at the top, tools, and then there's something called Keyword Planner. And that's a free keyword platform where you can search like search volume. It'll show you expected cost per click levels, kind of how competitive it is. Really great place to start with a free tool for kind of It also can give you suggestions for keywords you could add to your keyword strategy, all that good stuff. Highly recommend that. But even if you do end up including a keyword that doesn't have a lot of volume in your strategy, Google will just flag it to you in your actual platform saying not delivering, not enough search volume, that kind of thing. So not really a problem, but a good place to start. If you have a whole strategy of 20 keywords, none of them actually have any search volume, your ads are not going to really deliver or do what you want for them. So you want to make sure you're really going after what people are looking for. A couple other things that are important to your keyword strategy: relevancy. Google's going to show your ad if it's relevant to what the person is searching for. If you're bidding on keywords like manicure, but you're actually some service that has nothing to do with nail salons, it's not going to show your ad. And that's when your landing page is important. It's going to reference kind of, is your service actually matching what these people are looking for? And then the last part of your keyword strategy is your bids, which are your CPCs, your cost per clicks. This will really depend on the industry you're in, how competitive it is, what kind of you need to be setting your bids at. Typically a good place to start, you just keep them all at like $1, see how delivery goes. If it's not working, increase your bids from there, and just kind of monitor it from there. I'll talk a bit more about bid strategies towards the end, but doing your cost is just as important as well. If it's too low, you won't deliver. Simple as that. All right, so moving on from there is I wanted to talk a bit more about kind of the structure of your Google Ads account, because I think that can be pretty daunting if you're just starting Google Ads for the first time. You have no idea how you should be grouping things, can be confusing. So just as a bit of an overview, you kind of got this big Google Ads account. You can break things down by specific campaigns within the campaign, break them down by ad group. From there, you break them down by keywords, and then you have ads associated with those keywords. So just kind of how this hierarchy structure is set up. So there's a whole bunch of different ways. There's no perfect way that you want to set up your ad account. It'll really depend on kind of the business you're doing, the space you're in, how you want to do it. But just as some kind of high level things that you can do. If you're a brand that's actually well established, you have competitors that are actually bidding on your own brand name, which you can do on Google Ads. It's kind of a sneaky tactic to do, but it's relevant. It gets your ads in front of people looking for similar things. But if you're seeing that people are bidding on your keyword, you may want to have a brand campaign so that your ad is always at the top. Even though people could still be scrolling down and clicking on your organic search, you could be losing out on some things going to your competitors. I would always include a brand campaign as a separate thing from all of your other keywords. But a different way that you could break down your things if you're not running a brand campaign, don't necessarily always need that, especially if no one else is bidding on your keywords. People could still be getting to your site from organic, and you don't actually need to be paying for them. But product, geo, keyword, these are all kind of different ways that you can slice and dice your campaigns. Geo, I think, could be a good one. If I have a nail salon in Toronto, Burlington, Hamilton, Sault Ste. Marie, if I have all these different places, maybe it makes more sense for me to do them by geo. And then I'll need to spend more money on my Toronto location because there's more competition than, say, something out in Sault Ste. Marie, for instance. And because you can only really set your bids at your budget, at the campaign level. So you may want to have that dexterity of pushing more budget towards one location versus another. Something else that you could do, splitting it out by keyword, grouping it. Maybe I want to do a campaign on manicures, a separate campaign on pedicures. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, that's just kind of high level ways you could do it. You could also keep it in one campaign and then split out at your ad group level by kind of your different keyword buckets. Yeah, there's no one size fits all for this. So you can just try it out. A next piece that is really important, especially on the S&G team, is tracking. And so one of the great things about digital marketing compared to other types of marketing is that this is a really measurable way of seeing if what you're doing and what you're spending is actually making an impact for your business. So tracking, I think, is a really fun thing and a great thing to include for all of your campaigns. And Google does a really great job of incorporating all of their different platforms, syncing them together. so that they make it easy for you to do it. So when you're setting up your tracking, highly recommend you have a Google Analytics account as well. That's where you can see a whole bunch of your data from when they're converting, how long they're staying on your site, kind of all that fun stuff. And then you can actually link your Google Ads and your Google Analytics accounts together. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of all of this, but what you'd want to do is create some kind of goal in Google Analytics and then import that into your Google Ads account. Goals and analytics, you do things like a destination URL. So say I'm looking for someone to book an appointment at my nail salon. Maybe they'll fill in all their information, click book now. It goes to a separate thank you page. You can then set a goal up on that thank you page, and that the only way they can get there is if they actually submitted a booking. So therefore, we know that that was an actual booking when they hit that thank you page. A different way you could do it is a button click. So if someone clicks on book now, I can fire a goal so that I know that that's someone converting for me, or a phone call, whole bunch of different things. And these can be micro or macro conversions. Macro being like that hard bottom of the funnel, they booked a thing. Micro conversions could be maybe they just clicked on our services page, and that's enough information for you that you want to create a goal based off of that. There's different strategies for both. You can import all of these into Google Ads, all of that fun stuff. But the great part about syncing it over to your Google Ads account is that you'll get to see exactly what keyword brought in that sale, what ad group is bringing in the most. You can really slice and dice and see what's working, and really find the best ways to put your dollars behind what you're doing. Because I'm a big believer in using data and putting it behind what's working, and you'll need good tracking in place in order to really make that decision and get the most out of your Google Ads campaigns. And so from there, you can optimize towards these conversion events. Google Ads has these automated bidding strategies where you can optimize to these different button clicks and things like that. And then the great thing about the Google ecosystem is that they'll set up auto tagging for you with UTM parameters, which is a fancy tracking thing, a way that Google will know where people are coming from. And Google Ads will do this automatically for you. You don't have to touch it. It's great. Auto tagging is automatically turned on. So good to go in that sense. And then, so that's kind of the big conversions piece. Budgets are probably something that you all really care about right now, of how you're setting up your Google Ads. You can really start small in terms of your budgets. And the great thing about having good tracking in place is that you can see what's working and then really scale it up from there. And so I would recommend you start small, figure out kind of what's working, and then slowly ramp up your budgets. Yeah, you don't want to blow it all at the beginning on something that you actually haven't proven. Figure out what's working and then really go from there. One thing I did want to caution though on Google Ads, they've got this like sneaky thing of that if you really like double your budget, say you're halfway through the month and you wanted to spend $15 a day. That's totally cool. Halfway through the month, you decide you actually want to double your budget and you want to spend the rest of your month, maybe you want to spend $30 a day. Well, if you make that change, Google's actually going to think that you wanted to spend $30 a day for the whole month. And you could actually end up spending double your budget in total, even though you kind of already spent half of what you wanted to before. Just like this little thing that Google does. So I would recommend you increase your budget slowly. Start with like a $5 increase, wait a couple days, another $5 increase. These are working with small budgets, obviously. If you're working with bigger ones, you don't need to be as small, but just something to caution. Doesn't need to be massive increases across the board. All right, so moving into just wrapping up here, bidding strategies are kind of a really great way for you to really get the most out of your Google Ads platform. Typically, we would always recommend you start on manual CPC for a little bit and then move over to one of the auto bid strategies. So manual CPC here being the only manual one. All of these other ones are automated by Google using their algorithm. And they each have their kind of time and place that can be the best time to use them. So manual CPC is the most granular. You set your bids for different ad groups and keywords all on your own. You really have that dexterity. You can quickly adjust your budgets, but it does require a bit more monitoring and optimizing. We do, like, as an agency, we like to start on manual CPC, see how it's delivering, see what's working, what's kind of gaining some traction. You can make sure you're not going to blow your budget, or Google is just going to spend it in a way that you're not expecting. So to have that control early on in a campaign is really helpful, but it's not always sustainable. Small business owners, you don't want to be in your data all day, every day, staring at numbers, optimizing. I mean, some of you might, which is great. Love that. But in terms of actually long-term and getting the most out of your money, automated bid strategies can be the great next step for you. So kind of one step above manual CPC is a maximize click strategy. So it's what it sounds like. It's going to automatically set your budgets and your bids, so you receive as many clicks as possible within that budget that you set out. So as it sounds, it's just really going to maximize the amount of traffic that you can kind of get to your website. So if you don't have a lot of conversion data yet, maximize clicks is a good one to really increase kind of the traffic to the site, figure out from there what's kind of working to start. And then maximize conversions and kind of the rest of them. You really are going to need that conversion data in your platform in order to leverage. And that's when I kind of loop back to that tracking piece and importing your goals. That's kind of what's considered a conversion in Google Ads. You can have a bunch of different ones. That's when micro conversions could be more helpful. It gives the platform a bit more data to work with for these strategies. But maximize conversions will automatically set your bids so you receive as many conversions as possible. Maximize conversion value is similar. It'll automatically set your bids so you get the most conversion value for your specific campaign. So maybe I get more money from a waxing appointment than a manicure or a pedicure. Google, using maximize conversion value, can really see that that's how it's working, and it's going to spend more money on my waxing keywords because they're going to bring me in more dollars. And so yeah, that can really depend on your industry you're in, what you're looking for. Max conversions would be good for more like booking a demo, or something that's more like lead based, versus conversion value can be great for like e-com or like a service business that has kind of those strict dollar values attached to it. And then going on from there, you kind of have these other two that are target CPA and target ROAS. Now, max clicks, max conversions, these kind of four are much more consistent in the spend, I would say, than these two, and that these two will spend your daily budgets in the best way that it can see fit. And so that's much more consistent over time, and you can see that. These two can be a little bit more volatile, and that's because, so target CPA automatically sets your bids so you receive as many conversions as possible within that target cost per acquisition. So maybe you only want to spend $40 on getting some kind of nail appointment, because any more than that and you're not going to break even, and it really doesn't make sense for you. So you'll have that target CPA set out. Now, say Google doesn't think it can get you a nail appointment for under $40. Say Google thinks it's going to have to spend $70 in order to make someone an appointment, then they're actually just not going to serve your ads. They're going to say, I can't get you one for $40. I don't want to just spend your money because of your bid strategy, so I'm just not going to show it. So you can see that over time, if it thinks that it's not going to get that for you, your ad's not going to show, you're not going to spend a whole lot. Maybe that's not the right bid strategy, or maybe you need to increase your target CPA. When you're using this strategy, you generally will want to start it kind of at the higher end and then slowly bring that CPA down until it's a range that works. Just kind of the Google algorithm, it'll take some time, but it'll get there, hopefully. Again, depends on the industry. And then the last one is that target ROAS. So automatically set your bids so you can get as much conversion value as possible at your target return on ad spend. So similar kind of to that max conversion value, you'll want to make, like, say that you want to get at least breaking even, you'll need a target ROAS of 100%. So for every dollar you spend, you get $1 back. Obviously, we would want to do more than that, but over time, you can really improve that ROAS and see if you can get that to a target. These ones are really good if you kind of have that strict budget, so you don't want to pay more than that, but these ones do require a little bit more time, a little bit more data to really use to the best of their abilities, but when used, they can be really helpful.
Amy, do you mind
right.
going through, sorry, just on that last slide,
Yeah.
do you mind just going through what those acronyms mean, just in case people aren't familiar with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. So manual CPC means manual cost per click. CPC being kind of that bid that we're setting for all of our different keywords, because you are going to be paying on that like click per click basis. CPA being cost per acquisition, so the amount of money you're spending to really get that kind of booking or lead, or how much you're paying to get that kind of end goal. And then ROAS being return on ad spend, so the amount of money you'll get back based on how much you're spending. Yeah,
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Right, so yeah, just kind of my last slide that I want to use to wrap up. Optimizing is a marketer's best friend. You're never going to get the perfect campaign when you launch it right off the bat. Never, so don't expect it to happen. But there are some little ways that you can really optimize your campaigns over time and just try and get the most out of them as possible. One thing I'd recommend, just trying different things. It's not going to be a one size fits all for any of your businesses. You can test different structures, different bidding strategies, different ad copy, different keywords. There's so many different things that you can test out. But one thing that I do want to highlight is actually, like, the platform does need time to react and optimize accordingly. So we always say it takes at least a week or two for the platform to really kind of recalibrate based on the changes that you make. So keep that in mind. Like, if knee-jerk reactions, if you're seeing something just tank all of a sudden, just give it a little bit of time and see if it stabilizes. Otherwise, make some adjustments accordingly. But it's not going to be instantaneous if you make any of these changes. For like major ones, bids, you have that kind of more dexterity, have more of that flexibility on that side. But in terms of like total budgets that you're using, your bidding strategies, those are going to take some time. And then another thing you can test, expanding and reducing the number of keywords you're targeting. So being conscious of your budget, you don't want to have too many keywords. Maybe the platform, it's too confusing, it can't optimize to try and get all of these keywords for you. Maybe you need to pare it down into more of those, like exact, more of those phrase, those ones that are really converting for you, and put as much budget behind what's working. So there's room there. Maybe you have a whole lot of budget and you're not reaching enough people, there's not enough impressions. Then you can expand out your keywords and really try and get some more visibility there. Testing different ad copy, so changing out your headlines, your descriptions, maybe adding some more call out text. There's a whole lot of room to play there. You really want to, like, the ad is what people are seeing, that's what they're clicking to get to your site. There's a lot of room there to just make sure it's the most engaging as possible for people. From there, optimizing your landing page to improve conversion rates and relevancy scores. That's including your keywords as often as possible. You could test longer content versus shorter content, just giving people the information that they want. But landing page is just as important of a place to optimize, getting them through that funnel, than just on that Google Ads side. And yeah, one thing as well, if you're not sure what to do, Google Ads actually has this recommendations tab at the top, and it has all that information on your account. It can tell you, like, oh, try adding in these keywords, try switching to this bidding strategy. It really gives you those tips to try if you're at a loss. So you're not alone in this. So yeah, those are kind of key optimizations, key little points that you can make. But yeah, this is just kind of a basis to start. Digital Help Desk is here. Search and Gather, we're help support the team on this one, help answering questions. Yeah, we're digital marketing pros at this point. So any questions you have now while you're opening the floor. And yeah, hope this is helpful.
Yeah, thank you. So if anyone does have any questions, you're welcome to, like, if you want to turn your video on or your microphone, or like we said, you can type them into the chat if you'd prefer that. If you have something that's kind of like a general question on Google Ads or something specific to your business that you wanted to talk through, we can definitely do that now. And like we said before, feel free to connect through the help desk as well if you have kind of more lengthy or complicated questions that you really want to dig into afterwards, by all means. Yeah, Cindy, looks like you have a question.
So apparently things have changed a lot since since I was first familiar with doing websites. It seems like having Google Ads and getting all of that analytical data afterwards is actually going to help me with the content on my website, if I understand the presentation correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a bit of, I guess it's a bit of a juggle or a bit of a dance in the beginning to settle on what the content should be on your website, because of course these are always questions we ask, is what words are people typing into the search engine? Like how do they land on us? So okay, I just wanted to check on that. So really it's just trying the Google Ads and then getting your analytical data back. And then it seems like Google will give us the words that people used. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I recommend, like, when you start doing some kind of keyword research, get some kind of idea of what people are searching for. Using Keyword Planner is a great place to start. And then from there, once you're actually live, there's this little tab under the keyword section in Google Ads called search terms, where you can see the exact query that someone put in that clicked onto your ad. There's also a different tab called search keywords, which are the actual ones that you're bidding on. And you can see, based on the keyword strategy you have uploaded, which ones are converting. And by looking in the search terms tab, you can see what they're searching and you can add that to your keyword strategy from there. There's a lot of information you can get in there just to try and get the most out of them.
So this may be a very amateurish question, but so the content, is it actually on your website or is it those hidden words on the website? I don't know what you call those, but.
So if you're talking about like the keywords on your site, that can include like your headlines on there, your actual, like the text on your pages. There's also kind of that back end piece that's more so on the SEO side of having kind of those meta descriptions and other things, but mostly kind of the content that people are going to be seeing on your site. That's what Google's going to be caring about on your Google Ads.
Okay, so not so much the meta tags or whatever they're called. It is the actual content on your website.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And you do have the option when you're doing the Google Ads as well to choose some specific words that you want to include for the ad, right? Is that? Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever ad copy you're including, you put that all together yourself, and you can change it up if it's not, if you don't have a good click-through rate, you can try different things, different ways that's really going to be engaging for your audience.
And I know in the past, in some of our discussions, some of the things that Search and Gather had mentioned just in like how to figure out what people are searching for your business is like just go to Google and start typing and see like what those drop down suggestions are in Google, like the commonly searched things. So that might be something to do depending on like what business you have and what industry you're in, but just kind of see like what those common searches are and like what kind of words people are using to search, and then maybe incorporate those into your ads.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I know that's what you guys have said in the past. So
yeah, if you start typing something, Google's going to auto fill in what you're probably looking for and what other people are looking for. So great place to start.
Yeah. So there's some questions that have been messaged and emailed in. I'll just ask one of those now. So what Google app would you recommend that optimizes analytics and ads?
I don't know if Amanda, you have a good answer to this in terms of an app.
Yeah, we're talking about an app that helps kind of connect the two platforms.
that optimizes analytics and ads.
Well, I don't know if you can really optimize analytics. Analytics is a tool you use afterwards to really assess the data. It's really just a visualization of your trends. Optimizing Google Ads, you probably need some scripts, but I don't know of an app offhand, to be honest, but we can look into it for you guys. Personally, we definitely don't use any kind of third-party app to optimize. We use, we're right in the platform to optimize. Some of the automatic bidding techniques that Amy kind of mentioned are definitely helpful. But yeah, we don't use a third-party integration or anything like that. Doesn't mean there isn't one though.
Yeah.
I know actually one, I don't think it's an app, but it's called Kenshu, and that's a really big one. But you gotta be careful with these like third-party like optimization tools that might be taking a fee off the top or might be auto optimizing in a way that is less efficient in some cases. So I just be careful with it.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, and if there are any like specific things that you're looking to get help with optimizing, like I said, if you want to connect kind of afterwards with an expert and kind of give a bit of background on your business and what you're hoping to achieve with the Google Ads, then I'm sure the team at Search and Gather would have some recommendations on how to get started with that. Yeah, did we have any other questions that people wanted to ask? I had some that were emailed in, but I just wanted to give everyone here a chance to ask their questions first. We'll do one of the emailed ones while we're waiting on other questions. So one of the questions was, are your budgets set at the campaign level for Google Ads, or could they be set at the ad group level or the ad level?
Yeah, so your daily budgets are going to be set at your campaign level. So Google will spend that amount between the keywords and the ad groups that you have set out in that bigger shell. You can set, if you're on a manual CPC, kind of your default CPCs at your ad group level. So you can kind of have more of that control at that sense. If you want to spend more on manicures and less on pedicures, you can kind of have that different CPC set out there. But from an actual like holistic budget standpoint, that's going to be at your campaign level.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll have that in a recording for them after. One of the other questions was, I think you mentioned this kind of as part of one of your slides, but maybe you can go in a bit more depth with some recommendations around it. What are negative keywords?
Yeah, so negative keywords are ones that you're going to exclude from your campaign, from your ads. You don't want to show up your ad for that specific keyword. So I use kind of employment, login as like really good examples for negatives, in that for your ads, you probably don't want people that are looking to work for your company clicking on your ad. You don't want to be paying for that. So you want to kind of exclude job, career, stuff like that as a negative keyword. But you can also do that from if you're seeing search results come in and you're showing up for something that's actually not related to you at all, you can exclude that negative keyword so that you don't show up. Yeah, and so that's a good thing to monitor, especially early on in your campaign. And if you're not sure about your keyword strategy, take a look at your search terms, see what people are actually showing up for. And then from there, really kind of changing your keyword strategy, adding in those negatives, expanding. That search terms is going to be your best friend when you're just starting out.
Right. And that's through like the analytics once you've actually started.
So that's in your, yeah, so in your actual Google Ads platform.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing I was thinking is like, I know when you're talking about conversions in terms of Google Ads, that like that's very easy to kind of figure out for an e-commerce business or someone who's selling things online or like booking online, what that conversion would be. Do you have any recommendations for businesses that are like brick and mortar that don't have anywhere where they're selling or booking online, and like how they would kind of use Google Ads to get started, and how you could track the success of that for like a brick and mortar store?
Great question. Amanda, feel free to jump in as is while I think about it.
Yeah, brick and mortar is always very tough. Like foot traffic isn't something as measurable as, following a cookie ID onto your site. So it's almost like an impossible perfect measurement, but you can look at correlations. So Typically, you'll want to look at maybe not conversions, but your click-through rate, seeing as how many people are actually, and also like tying that into the relevant search terms that are coming in. If you're finding people clicking through and they're looking more high level than actually like the location of your business, let's say, then you can probably it could be indicative of like the intent there, but I would definitely correlate it to the volume of clicks, to the increase in business that you see in store. Sometimes also people like to ask like, oh, where did you hear from us, right? Like, where did you hear about us? It's like a very anecdotal way to like assess like what platforms could be working. I know it's not the perfect measure, but it's something. And I think the other thing that you can utilize is your I think Amy already talked about it, but like your site link extensions around locations. You can have a call extension as well. So they might not be able to book something, but they may be able to click and call you or click onto your location. And so I'd really measure the volume of clicks you're getting on those two items or those two links to see like, is the intent to actually come to your store or not? So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, does anyone else have any questions before we wrap up today? If you think of anything afterwards, I'm going to put the link in the chat right now for the help desk. And like I said, tomorrow we'll send out a follow-up email with a link to the help desk with the recorded version of this workshop. So if you want to kind of rewatch any sections, and there will be a written summary with it as well that has timestamps to specific points in the video from the workshop. So if you want to revisit just one section, you can take a look at that tomorrow as well. And we'll make sure to put a link in there to direct you to, if you do have a question that you want to submit to the team here at Search and Gather, then you can do that through the help desk as well. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And thanks to our team at Search and Gather for that. That was some great information.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thanks. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.